Chapter 22, The Great Debate. As I stood behind my podium and looked at the President of the United States 15 feet away, a thought hit me that should have hit me about 10 months ago. Who am I fooling? I don't have opinions on any important issues, I thought to myself. I have no business being here. I only wanted to run for president as a goof. I never thought it would go this far. I can't run a country. I'm like one of those idiots who runs on the field in the middle of a baseball game. But it was too late to back out. I couldn't just walk off the stage. It was at that moment that I figured out my only option was to sabotage my own candidacy. I decided to do what I always do when I'm in a jam: play it for laughs and act like a jerk. Maybe America will forgive me for wasting its valuable time. Maybe people will say boys will be boys and let me go back to my normal life. The League of Women Voters, who sponsored the debate, had decided on a format designed to prevent candidates from rambling on and on. Each candidate would be asked a question by members of a panel and have 20 seconds to complete his answer. The three of us would take turns fielding questions. The moderator introduced President White, Senator Dunn, and me. The panel of journalists fired the first question at Senator Dunn and the next one at the president. Each of them gave a very thoughtful, rehearsed, and, to me anyway, boring response. Then everyone looked at me. Mr. Moon? I was asked. A third-party candidate has never won the presidency. What makes you think your lemonade party can? Lane knew I would be asked that question, and he had written a good answer for it, but I couldn't remember what it was, so I improvised. I look at it this way, I said. The two-party system isn't important on a one-party system. Therefore, three parties should be an improvement on two parties. Americans love parties, and I believe the more parties we have, the better. I would start a fourth party if I could, but I can only start one party at a time. So, in conclusion, I say, let's party, America! The place erupted. The studio audience was screaming. Half of them were laughing their heads off. The other half were demanding that I be removed from the auditorium. The panel of journalists stared at me, open-mouthed. It took a while for order to be restored. As soon as I finished giving that answer, a sense of calm came over my body. I stopped sweating. I wasn't nervous anymore. It was as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I was back in the school cafeteria, goofing on Arthur Krantz and his jerky friends. The three candidates took turns. Every time the panel of journalists threw a question at me, I threw the answer right back at them. Question. You're on record as saying your first official act as president will be to abolish homework. What will your second official act be? Answer. To abolish making beds. Why make a bed in the morning? You're only going to sleep in it again at night. Question. What do you plan to do about jobs? Answer. A plan to get one as soon as my term as president is over. Question. Which president do you most admire and why? Answer. Grover Cleveland, because he became president despite the fact that he was named after a character on Sesame Street. Question. How do you feel about school prayer? Answer. Every morning I pray that school will be closed. Question. What do you intend to do about teenage pregnancy? Answer. My dad says we're going to sit down and have a talk about that, but he keeps putting it off. Question. It takes a tremendous amount of desire to become a president. Oops. Sorry about that. Question. It takes a tremendous amount of desire to become president. Do you have the fire in the belly? Answer. Yeah, it must have been those tacos I ate for dinner. Question. What's the toughest part about running for president? Answer. Learning not to pick my nose in public. Question: what do you think we should do about hazardous waste? Answer: I'd suggest you try a strong laxative. That ought to do it, I thought to myself. I couldn't say anything more disgusting, juvenile, or unpresidential than that. Nobody could possibly take me seriously as a candidate for president. President White and Senator Dunn stood there during my answers. Both of them were flustered. When the journalist asked them a question, they fumbled all over the place trying to look dignified. I guess they weren't used to obnoxious kids. For our final statements, all three of us were asked to address one issue we would be likely to face as president: how to achieve lasting peace in the Middle East. The president gave a little speech about how he had formed deep relationships with all the Mideast leaders over the last 4 years. Senator Dunn said that the United States had to back up its friends in the event of a conflict. I didn't have any strong opinion on the subject, and I couldn't think of a good wisecrack. So I told a little story. One time, I was at a baseball card show and some kids got into a big argument over whose cards belonged to whom. I stepped in the middle of it and looked over their collections. I told one kid that if he gave the second kid his Ryan Howard rookie card and the other kid gave him two Matt Holliday cards, they would be even. I told the third kid that if he gave each of the other kids his Cliff Lee and Tim Lincolncombe cards, they would probably give him the Robinson Cano and Joey Votto cards that he wanted. To make a long story short, they made all the swaps and everybody was happy afterward. So I think I could keep everybody in the Middle East happy the same way. I don't believe the Israelis or the Palestinians collect baseball cards, the moderator chuckled. Well, maybe they should, I said. It's better to fight over cards than it is to fight over countries. And that was the end of the debate. The moderator came over and thanked all three of us for participating. I shook hands with the president and even got his autograph. When I came off the stage, Lane was sitting on the floor with his knees up and his head buried in his hands. He looked like a kid whose pet had died or something. I'm sorry, Lane, I said. I guess I just don't have the fire in my belly to be president. He didn't say a word to me on the ride back to Madison. He just stared out the window.